everyone, and welcome again to the St. Lucie County Public School Speakers Bureau. We are so glad to have you join us today. If this is your first time, we're just going to share with you what the Speakers Bureau is all about. We're here to encourage, we're here to inspire, to motivate our students, but not just our children, but our parents and our community as well. And we do it through our life story. Many times people look at us, when I say us, I mean our speakers that come on, or myself, and feel as if everything was just given to us and that we didn't really have any hardships or challenges in life, and that just everything was given on a silver spoon. And that's not so. And so we're here to open up our lives to help someone else and to let others know that it's not so much of what you go through, but it's how you look at what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And so today we have a wonderful, wonderful, I want to call her sister, but a wonderful friend. And she's also the executive director of St. Lucie County Public Schools. Her name is Latricia Woulard, and she has been with the district for many years. And so
Yes,
we're going to just start out by saying welcome to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
I know your schedule is insane. You have several schools that
Yes,
you oversee, and you make sure that those schools connect with district things that we want done in the district in those schools. And so it takes a very special person to deal with all of our wonderful principals and teachers and our different school districts. So can you share with us a little bit more about what you actually do? So we'll start off with that.
Okay, yes, ma'am. As an executive director of schools, I oversee actually 13 of our comprehensive campuses. I'm one of 3 executive directors. And our role basically is to supervise, support, implement the district superintendent initiatives, and ensuring that our students, staff, parents are well taken care of. So I'm in the schools often. My job is basically to walk through classrooms, attend collaborative learning and planning sessions, observe instruction, and just to ensure that our students are getting exactly what the district and the school board and the superintendent expects for them to receive each and every day. And you know, one of our sayings is every child, every day, and just making sure that each and every one of our children they're supported. So my role is to support the schools and to support the principals and to monitor and implement those initiatives.
And you said you're one of 3. And
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have 13 schools in this district.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm not expecting you to name all 13, but can you give us some? You can?
Yes, ma'am, I can. Bayshore Elementary. I have Lakewood Park, Lawnwood Elementary, Savannah Ridge, St. Lucie Elementary, Village Green, Weatherby, Windmill Point, Oakhammock K-8, Palm Point. I have Dan McCarty Middle School, Lincoln Park, and Mosaic.
Okay, and if you didn't hear about your child's school in that list, remember there's 2 others,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
all 3 of them take a portion of our schools and do exactly what Ms. Woulard does as well. So, Ms. Woulard, you are such a wonderful person. I've gotten to know you as just one-on-one, you know, and you've done work with us and have volunteered your services with our after-school program and our kids at Save Our Children. And so you give to your community. Tell us some of the things that you do other than what your work within the school district.
Yes, ma'am. So there are a few other community groups and organizations that I work closely with. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I do a lot of mentoring within the sorority. I'm one of the counselors for our Precious Pearls group, which we have about, in Indian River County, we have about 13 students that I support in that county. But I'm also a liaison for the Precious Pearls group in St. Lucie County, which there are about 20 girls in that organization. But we also have a youth group, a youth leadership group within our sorority that I work closely with, and that also services boys and girls of ages 11 to 13 in that group. So I do a lot of mentoring with them. My husband is also the owner of Blueprint Management, and we do a lot of mentoring with that organization as well. My church, my Northside Agape Ministries is one of my local churches, but I do a lot of mentoring with kids and supporting kids in within my church organization in Indian River County.
Wow, you're a busy, busy lady. Okay,
I try.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into time.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're asking you to tell us, what was it like for you growing up as a child?
Growing up as a child, I had two fantastic parents, really involved parents that stressed education, morals, values. So I had a great upbringing. The expectation in my home is you listen to your parents. You do exactly what they ask you to do. You respected, you reverenced your parents. And they made life for me, you know, really easy. I enjoyed my upbringing. My parents were wonderful. But you know, as a child, we sometimes do what we want to. So, you know, I did get in trouble a lot. I was the first of 3 children. So they were a little bit more tougher on me, I thought, than my other 2 siblings that were raised in the household with me. So, you know, I did what my parents asked me to do, but I kind of teetered the line just a little bit, you know.
And then when you get a little older, you know, you're looking for your independence in the
So
in the
as a
midst of
teenager, you know, I might have, you know, gotten into trouble just a little bit, but, you know.
Well, nobody's perfect, even you.
Yeah, you'll find that, you know, as much as I feared my father, you know, and he is one of my role models to this day, you know, I did, you know, not always listen to what he asked me to do. But my parents, I had 2 really, you know, great parents who were both educators.
Okay.
My mom was a 6th grade language arts teacher.
Wow.
My dad, who actually worked in St. Lucie County, was a teacher here at Fort Pierce Central High School, and then became a principal of the alternative school.
Okay.
And then ended up his career as the director of exceptional student education.
Okay, and when did he retire?
My father retired back in 1997, I believe.
Okay. That
Yes,
makes me
ma'am.
feel a little better because I'm like, am I supposed to know? You know,
No.
Give your dad's name and your
My
mom's
dad's name is Johnny Thornton.
Okay.
And my mom is Margaret
Okay.
Thornton.
Wow. So you know what? You're just that little part of what you said helps us to understand how extremely important our parents are, and what our children see, and how they are raised. And that makes a tremendous difference in a child's life because, you know, we are Kids at Hope.
Yes, ma'am.
We're Kids at Hope community, which believes that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. But the part of that Kids at Hope is that children have different aces.
Yes.
You know, and the more they have, you know, it's like the cards.
The better.
The more, yeah, if they have, give me the clubs and the diamonds
ace,
and the
the
ace.
aces.
And what's the other, the 4 suits, the clubs, the diamonds, you could tell.
Yeah, I don't play cards.
Yeah, the spades.
Spades, yes, ma'am.
And then there's the hearts.
Hearts.
And the more of that children have in their lives, the more their chances are of success.
That's true.
And so to hear your parents were such great people, my parents was more challenging. Whew. But, it just lets us know that as long as we look for those people that can help us have those different parts of those people in our lives that can make a difference in our success, we can be successful.
That is true.
So, okay, so tell me, you talked about how was your grades in school? You talked about you had some challenges. Tell us some of those challenges that you can think of now that you might have gone through as a young person, and how were you able to adjust to allow yourself to push past some of those things that could have caught you and maybe had you go a different way if you would have thought a certain way?
So in my home, there were high expectations. And when you speak about having the different people in your lives that helped you and assisted you to make it through, my father and my mother were pillars within the community. So we had a lot of eyes on us going through, matriculating through school. So even when or if I wanted to stray, there were other people in my life that said, oh, I know your parents, you need to do X, Y, Z. So going through school, I had decent grades. I had good grades because we knew that education was an expectation in my home. So, there was no bringing home anything less than a C. So you knew that you were gonna go to class and get the lesson and the education that you needed to. So going through school and graduated from high school, that was the expectation. And my father and mother went to college, and you were going to go to college. And my dad said, well, my money is only going to one particular college, so you knew that was the college that you were going to go to.
Which one was that?
South Carolina State University. So I had to go there.
Okay. Did both mom and dad go there?
Both mom and dad went to South Carolina State University. And, my dad has a different story where, he barely made it to college, but he had, he was a good basketball player, so he had someone else in his life that helped him to, see that education and going to school was his way out. So he impressed upon us that was what you were going to do. But when I got to college, I wanted to be a dentist, and at that time, and I went to school. I majored in biology and minored in chemistry. So I went to school for that. But then when you get to college, you have your freedom and you make your decisions away from your parents' eye. So that was challenging for me because, growing up, I had a really tight thumb. And then when I got to college, I had more freedom. And with that freedom came choices. And then some of the choices that I made at that time were not the choices that my parents had instilled for me, which then kind of derailed or put a pause in what I wanted to do for my life. And so I found myself after 3.5, 4 years coming back home, and I wasn't able to go back to school, to college for about a year. And at that point, I thought that it was over for me because of the decision that I had made, and that I wasn't going to finish college, and I felt that I failed my parents, and that was looming over my head. And through perseverance and prayer at that time, because I didn't want to upset my father, but I could see that he was upset. I didn't want to upset my mom, but she had a little bit more, you'll be able to go back, sweetheart. Just keep going and doing what you need to do. And at that point, when I just said, look, I can't let 3.5 years go to waste. I'm gonna go back to school. And with support
So you was 3 and a half years into college and did not complete at that time.
I didn't finish.
And you know, as I hear you, and I want you to continue with your story, but as I hear what you're saying, it's so important for us to be ready.
Yes.
No matter how you're raised, if you are not ready within your own self to do what you need to do, then it will deter you and delay you. It does not have to completely destroy you.
Destroy you.
Or steal what you were going to do, but it will cause a delay because we have to be ready.
Yes.
I know when I went back to college, I was so ready, but then I was like in my early 30s, okay? But I tried it when I was, you know, different. My life story is different from yours. I was on my own when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
And I tried, you know, I got my GED. I mean, my life was just opposite of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, didn't have those supportive parents at all. But I still attempted to go to college, but it did not work for me at that time. Because I was not ready or mature enough or whatever it took to go and be successful at it. Later on in life, after having a husband and 3 children, I went back to school. I was ready. I was so ready, I sat in the front row every day. I didn't care who was behind me. All I wanted to do was see that instructor.
That's right.
And get my lesson. So you have to be ready. I have we have one guest that came before you, and was talking about at 18. He was the class clown, completely.
Yes.
Grades were horrible, but his dad died.
Oh, wow.
Had a massive heart attack at age 50.
It's
and
those
he was just graduating from school, and he got ready. And from that moment on, he excelled and became a medical doctor, his life dream.
Wow.
But
it's those life experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
That helps us sometime in what we need
to get serious.
To propel us.
Yeah. And I think that you know, life decision that made me have to come home and just sit and think about how, you know, my life at that point had changed. I mean, it was no longer just me, but I had a son to think about. And then, you know, becoming a dentist was out of the question, because after that, I was not going to be able to go to medical school for 4 more years. I had another human being to think about. So, I mean, my life had changed just by one decision. But anyway, I did end up going back to school. I finished with, like I said, a major in biology and a minor in chemistry. And then I came back home.
Okay.
And I wasn't able to go back to dental school, so my dad actually encouraged me at the time. He said, well, you know, you have a son, you know, education is the way to go. You work 180 days, you get the weekends off,
summers off,
and you get holidays and insurance. So, you know, so both he and my mom were in education. And I thought, my mom is a language arts teacher, and she would always correct our grammar, and I got tired of that. And I was like, I'm not going to be in education when I was younger. And I'm like, now it comes full circle, where life decisions make you change your trajectory. And here I am at 23, I'm ending, you know, up teaching. So I started in education in 1997 as a 8th grade science teacher at Northport Middle School.
Okay.
So that's how I
got into the
got
district.
into education.
Okay, so
in
tell
St.
us
Lucie
your
County.
path from there.
So my path from there, I had a wonderful leader, John Townsend, who was my principal.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
I started at Northport with him, and I worked under him. Well, I worked at Northport for 9 years as a teacher, and I had great leaders at that point. Gloria Johnson, who gave me so many responsibilities as a teacher leader. She made me department chair. She made me team leader. She saw some things in me that I, at that point, didn't see in myself. I was just like, at the beginning, I'm thinking, I'm just gonna This is just a
teaching
job.
Right, right.
And I'm
right.
teaching kids, and I loved my 8th graders. I loved being in middle school. So I worked at Northport for 9 years, and I probably would still be there if I didn't go back to school and get my master's degree in 2002. And at that point, I had 3 kids, and that was a struggle because my last child, she had open heart surgery. She had a congenital heart defect, but I was at that point with the leadership experiences that I was given as a teacher leader, I was determined to go back and get my ed leadership degree.
And once you're ready and you're determined, nothing can
is gonna stop you.
Isn't that incredible?
And when I look back on it, I'm like, how did I do that with 3 kids and a child at the time that had a major, a major health issue. But I did it anyway. And I had other great leaders like Eric Seymour, Mimi Hoffman, that gave me administrative leadership responsibilities. And seeing those great leaders just really made me want to become a great leader.
So you had those aces in your life.
I did.
Yeah.
All along the way. And I just see how important it is. And once I finished my ed leadership degree, Debbie Snyder hired me as her assistant principal at FK Sweet.
Okay.
And that was one of the best placements that I could have ever had. It just really showed me how to be a great leader, how to, manage instruction versus managing people and doing great by people.
You've mentioned some great names so far,
I have had so many.
Yeah.
God has really smiled on me with the people that he's put in my path. I can just see, his hand on how, they've guided me into the person that I am. From Debbie Snyder, I had Juanita Wright as my principal and leader.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I had some great people.
Yeah, you did.
And Scott Neal, I went back to Debbie Snyder at Palm Point. I worked there for a little while. And then after that, I became a principal. They trusted me to lead Windmill Point.
So how many years did it take from being a teacher to becoming a principal?
So as an assistant principal, I was an assistant principal for 7 years. And I worked at FK Sweet. I was an assistant principal at St. Lucie Elementary.
You were a teacher for how many years before that?
9.
Okay. So we're looking at 16, 17 years before you actually became a principal.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that's important to say that because sometimes people want it quicker and they feel as if, well, they didn't pick me this year, they didn't pick me that. But it's a process. And sometimes, for some of us, it takes longer than others.
It takes longer.
But you just didn't give up.
No, ma'am.
And you were blessed to have all those wonderful people.
I have a story when it comes to that. After 5 years of being an assistant principal, in my mind, I felt like I was ready. And I interviewed several times. I interviewed about 3 times to become a principal, and I wasn't chosen. And I felt like, not that I was being overlooked, because, I knew that I was doing a great job. I had great leaders that were singing my praises. It was just not the right time. It wasn't the right fit. And I had to gain a lot more experience because when I was called to become a principal, I was given one of the toughest schools at that time to transform. And if I didn't have...
And what school was that?
It was Windmill Point at the time.
Okay.
And it was an F. And they were going through a transition. They had gone through about 2 or 3 principals before I got there in the matter of maybe 4 years. And if I didn't have the experience that I had as being an assistant principal in the places that, I had, been, it wouldn't have prepared me to be in a differentiated accountability setting where the state was actually overseeing the school at that time. So, you know, I really believe in waiting. Now I believe in waiting your turn,
Waiting
for your
your
turn,
turn. Yes,
for
yes.
for the right time to be in the right place.
You know, I told you it was going to go really fast. We got about 3 minutes here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but what and who are you most thankful for? And you named some wonderful people,
Oh my gosh.
but do you have that particular...
In education
in
or
education,
personally?
let's say a teacher. Do you remember a teacher in your childhood life that really impacted, made a difference in your life as a child?
As a child, Miss Willis,
Why?
my 4th grade teacher, because I was, like I said before, I was a difficult kid sometimes.
Okay, good.
And she knew my parents. And she would, if I misbehaved in
What was her name,
class-
Miss
Miss Willis.
Okay, Miss Willis, okay.
And if I misbehaved, she would tell my parents.
And that was important that your parents,
yes.
right? That's what you're saying.
Yes, and
your parents need to know.
And I knew at that point that I could not misbehave. And if I misbehaved, she was going to tell, and I was going to get in trouble. And she just kept me on the straight and narrow. And I knew from that point on that education was important, behaving in class was important, and I had
Do
to
you
do what I
believe in
needed to do.
second chances?
Oh, yes, I do. It's important because, you know, as we grow and as we learn, we shouldn't be held to the things that we do.
That's right.
Like,
That's
you know,
right.
God gives us multiple chances. So I really believe that we owe people second chances.
Do you have a book or a quote that have changed your life that you could talk about a little bit?
Well, not necessarily a quote or a book, but I have a saying that
Okay.
I remember from a pastor that I used to attend this church. It was Vernon Shazier. And he said, go to work on time, do the job the way the boss wants it done, and give the customer the very best service.
I need to write that down.
And I've tried to live my life like that from that point on.
So what people say do really make a
Yes,
difference,
it
what they
does.
say to you. What advice would you give someone going into a leadership position for the first time? And we're going to end it with that because we got 1 more minute here.
Always be a learner.
Oh,
Be
that's a good
open
one.
to feedback because it's important. And if you're a first-time principal, talk to as many principals as you can to get their, you know, to talk about their experiences because you're gonna always need someone's experiences to lean on when you're in that position and in that role. So always be a learner, always be open to feedback, and have a fellowship of people that are going to surround you to help you.
Thank you so much for the wisdom that you've imparted today and for sharing your story and being open enough and willing enough to come on and do this. Our superintendent has done it, our deputy superintendent, our human resource executive.
Well, I feel
and
honored to be in that great company.
So, and you did just fabulous. You did fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you being a part of St. Lucie County Public Schools.
Oh, thank you.
And
It's a
thank you
pleasure.
for tuning in to the Speakers Bureau today. Be blessed.